You see, God was looking down on the earth recently, and things seemed to look a little bit more unruly among the humans. So he assembled a team of angels, 7 angels, to go down and do a quick survey of the earth. And they came back a few minutes later and said, yes, God, things are a little more unruly among the humans. We found that 95% of the people are behaving kind of badly, and only 5% are being really good. So God thought a moment, what can I do to give hope and encouragement to this small 5% of the people? I know, I'll send them an email. So you know what that email said? I was hoping somebody knew. I didn't get one either. Well, as far back as I can remember, I was always an atheist or an agnostic. Thoughts of God and afterlife seemed like wishful thinking to me. But then in 1988, I was diagnosed with cancer that almost killed me. And with death staring me in the face, suddenly I had to know, what really happens to us after we die. And I couldn't take it on faith, not that there's anything wrong with faith, but I've always needed some kind of proof or good solid evidence to convince me of something that was beyond my understanding. And the afterlife was certainly beyond my understanding. So in 1991, I attended a conference in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I met an old man named GeorgeMeek. Now, George was the father of ITC, or Instrumental Transcommunication, which is the use of technical equipment to get information from the worlds of spirit in the form of voices, images, and text. And George had some really amazing things to share with me at the conference. For example, he said his wife, Jeanette, had died the previous year, and shortly after she got settled in on the other side, she sent George a letter from the worlds of spirit through a computer. And the letter came through a computer in Europe while George was at home in North Carolina. And the computer was not hooked up to the internet. And it had 3 very detailed instances or incidents from their life together. One had to do with a box of books that they had sent to California, but it got lost in shipment. Another had to do with a yard light that they'd installed in their backyard for an exorbitant cost. And a third item had to do with a house key that their tenant Debbie had lost, and so they had to replace the house key. Now, these were 3 little incidents of interest to absolutely no one, not even to George, really, except that they proved conclusively that Jeanette's mind and memory had survived the death of her physical body. And that's what George was trying to do since retiring from industry, is convince the world that we don't die, that life lives forever. Jeanette also sent George a picture from the other side showing the paradise world that she was living in now, and that also came through a computer in Europe while George was in North Carolina. The large face on the left is Jeanette, as a young woman, and the woman in the dark dress is their daughter, Nancy Carroll, who had died at the age of 2 weeks. And that death had left kind of an emotional hole in Jeanette's life. So when she crossed over, the 2 of them were reunited, and they became good friends, living on the other side. The man on the right is Hal Roach, who was a TV producer back in the 40s and 50s in Hollywood. When I saw this picture and letter from the other side, I didn't know what to believe. It boggled my mind quite a bit. But George had some even more compelling evidence. He said that he and another fellow named Bill O'Neill had developed a device they called Spiricom, short for Spirit Communication. Bill O'Neill would stand in front of the Spiricom device, and he'd talk to people on the other side of the veil, the way that you or I might stand in front of a speakerphone and talk to someone on the other side of town or on the other side of the Pacific. This is an example of what the Spiricom sounded like.
Just forget what time it is. What's that, sir?
You know better than that. I'm not aware of time over here.
Well, I know that's what you said, sir.
I'm not joking, William. I'm not joking.
So we have learned through ITC that we carry our personalities over to the other side with us. When I heard this, I thought, if this is for real, it's exactly the kind of information I need to convince me that life does go on. And George said, well, that's not the end of it. He said one day as he went down into his basement lab with a 35mm camera and a tripod, and he set up the camera to take about 100 shots automatically, very quickly, under special lighting. So George sat in a chair and he meditated, and he had an out-of-body experience which he captured on film. Here you can see right through his body. His physical body is it was completely transparent. And you can see the projection of the spirit body and the proverbial silver cord. George said he replicated that on another occasion. And again, you can see partially through his body. You can see the tacks in the chair behind his legs. And you can see the energy body and the silver cord.